Hello, everybody. It's Kim Talks channel about knowledge management experts and knowledge management events. And today on my channel, Santhosh Shekar, thank you for joining us. And I wanted to talk about your book, your brand new book about knowledge management. And first, my question is why knowledge management is so important for modern business, for business in COVID era? What do you think?
Yeah, I think thanks for inviting me on your show. I think one of the important times we are in is really the whole global pandemic and post-pandemic world. I don't think the world will be the same. I mean, one is that because what we thought was taken for granted. Uh, I mean, in a physical office, you have your colleagues around you, and you can just turn around and, or you have your manager, you can just turn around and ask them or call them. It's so easy just to ask and get information. Um, Even now, what has happened is now the whole the new culture of work from home has really kind of created isolation of each knowledge worker. That is one. At the same time, now what we thought was taken for granted is no more. Is a luxury because you just can't easily access the experts or people around you. I mean, you can't ask because you need to set up meetings and they are busy when you are busy. So just what one small conversation could really move up your task now has to be, you have to wait for somebody. I mean, this is just a small example, with the challenge of a knowledge worker, who's actually doing, whether he's a finance guy, whether he's a operation guy, whether he's in tech support or customer service, it implies to everybody, right? That is one challenge. The other challenge is in the digital domain, what we thought was easier to access. We have the digital domain and the content and the knowledge artifacts and the knowledge assets are exponentially increasing, so much in such a large vast scale. It is not easy for an average man to remember everything and recall where it is and what it is. Even if one URL is broken, you really do not know where exactly to hop and get the information. So see, for me, the challenges are multifold, and it has actually multiplied into thousands of time in this pandemic. So in that context, knowledge management is very, very critical. That is one. Critical per se, because if we are not able to work together as, and again, this is just about me doing my job. But now as an organization, if we are not coming together, we are not learning lessons together, and we are not leveraging on the market intelligence, we are not able to get sense of what's happening with the competitor and the customer client. I think the space between each of this information, there's a huge gap, and if all this needs to be coupled together and has to make sense, and new insights needs to be created, for that you need to have foundational knowledge management in place.
Mhm. And please explain to my auditory, to my visitors, what you do in knowledge management.
Okay, so bit about myself. It's been like I've been when I started my career, I was a tech specialist, Unix and other technologies. So I started my career like that, and I was part of the knowledge process outsource industry in the early, late 90s and early century. And we had I think that was my first embracing with the huge digital information out there, and you need to onboard to the process within few weeks and start operational within few weeks, right? The challenge is humongous because we are talking about uh, providing customer service, whether it is technical or non-technical or web chat services, whatever. product knowledge, number of versions of product, versions of product in each country, and the servers, various services. You had so much of information, and believe me, it was not easy for an average man to remember everything. So that's when I really started, I really felt that, okay, we need one place where I can find all the information at one place, what I need for my work. So that's how I started building my, it was voluntary. I mean, it was, I was never, I didn't even know what was knowledge management in first place. When I started doing it, I mean, I was doing as just part of my, after work extra activities. So that's when I started developing, and I started using it, and even the team started leveraging it. And I took a week or 2 weeks holiday, and I came back, and people started calling me, okay, e-master is here. And like, what is e-master? Then told, oh, no, whatever knowledge base you have created, it has become really great help for us, and we are using it. That was the moment I realized, the kind of need for people, a knowledge worker, common knowledge worker, right? So that was my real, work even before hearing the knowledge management. And one of my friend told, okay, whatever you're doing is knowledge management. Then I did my research, and at the same time, our organization also started a knowledge management function, and they asked me to move in and work at the enterprise and at the operational scale. So that's how my journey began. Now it's been almost 20 years now. I've been working with various organizations, whether it is government organization, whether it is oil and gas, pharmaceutical, IT industries, KPO industries. So I've been working, various industries, and at the same time, I work from building small knowledge bases to large scale enterprise knowledge management solutions and architecting.
Okay.
That's been what I've been doing so long.
Okay, I see. You write a book which called Design Knowledge Management System. Please, oh yeah, yeah. It's a very good picture on this on cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
May you explain this picture and how we should design knowledge management system? Which first step for design correctly knowledge management system? You're right.
Um, so probably, what I say is, even before designing knowledge management, my point of view is, let's not worry about knowledge management, but let's really understand the world as it is. So that is why I brought in a new model here, which is called World of Knowledge Constraints. So we build upon this world of knowledge constraints because, firstly, we need to understand the challenges with oneself. I mean, probably I can show you some picture so that it's easier. So it's an individual, right? So we individual, we have our cognitive challenges, our ability to grasp things, comprehension. So imagine the challenges with one person. Now, as we move, when we add 2 or 3 people, the complexity increases. In the social architecture, the complexity actually, exponentially it extrapolates. Same applies for the organization. Now, in the organization, it's not just about the people you're dealing with. The people are, managing and working with the digital informations and the whole digital domain, right? That itself is a multi, complex world. Now, you have a digital domain, you have a knowledge domain and social domain where people need to interact between these two. And how do you, so once you understand this complexity, we are in this complexity, then we can take, one step further and really address, okay, how do we really look at this as it is, and then take the next step. So that's what it's called. This is the model which I called is, world of knowledge constraints. You are at the center. Okay, this is the nature, and this is the whole digital domain. Then you interact with any individual, then you are interacting with the whole organization or the society. So it is all centered around oneself, right? So I would say So the challenge is multifold. And here, if you take this organizations, here it is much more larger context, right? I mean, the reason why I'm not talking about knowledge management solution, that is, I mean, you can create hundreds of solutions. The point is, do we really need a solution itself is the first question. So my question is, that's how, you know, we need to really take two steps back and really look at knowledge proximity matrix. So when I say knowledge matrix, so if we are taking all the life cycles and we are looking at, you know, if I am here and what order knowledge are we looking at? Are we looking at, you know, see, the knowledge within what I need, I can manage, it's easier. But the knowledge what is there within my team is a second order. It is challenge, you know, to get all the whatever information or the knowledge artifacts or the experiences. It is not so easy. Now just imagine if you move up the third order, if we need knowledge, you know, really understand the knowledge perspective from the customer, client, or the market. So exponentially our challenges is increasing in this order, right? Mm-hmm. So it is important to understand what are we trying to address here. So when we are developing a knowledge management architecture, we really need to look at which order are we trying to scope. So that's why it is important. Knowledge management needs to be scoped. What exactly is your business, you know, context? Once you determine your business context, what is that? What is your challenge? What is the life cycle you're looking at? Or what in that life cycle, what roles you are looking at to provide the knowledge infrastructure? Once you set up this basic, you know, the framework, then, you know, you have hundreds of solutions. Whether it is you can deploy technologies, you can even have a simple conversation, you know, have a knowledge cafes, or you can have both of integrated, you know, technologies and communities and conversations. So I mean, solution in itself is not technology. Solution in itself is not conversation only, but it's one of the best tools. So it has multi gambit of, you know, approaches and methods what we have in our hand. Mm-hmm. So if we have to effectively use any of these things, then we need to really understand the complexity we are living in, scope exactly what we are looking at, and then start designing knowledge management system.
Okay, and you're talking about context and you're talking about background and corporate background, and we have differences between corporate background in each company, right? So why we should have standard for so differences? Why we should have standardization on not the same tools, not the same methods, etc. What do you think?
No, I think your question is very important, and this is fundamental question everybody has in their mind. When we talk about knowledge management, we really need to understand on what platform we are standing and what is our context we are looking at. What are we looking at? Are we looking at knowledge management solutions, and we are saying that it is different? Why do we need standard? Or are we looking at the management framework and saying that it is different? So where are we standing in this whole spectrum of knowledge management cycle? So to give you one example, let's say the knowledge management standard does not provide you solution, as I mentioned. Maybe knowledge management standard does not really tell you how to do what to do. What it is saying is, I think even before using knowledge management standard, let me give one example. Let's say we have to organize the Olympics. So what we are saying is, okay, there are 10 people. We are saying is, okay, guys, you design a game. Game should have at least one person. So you are just defining, one person. I mean, minimum is one person. So you're not saying exactly, and you need to have a goal for that person to achieve, and what is the criteria for that person to achieve, and what is the boundary within which he has to perform his game or activity, right? So when we define this, these things are common, whether you take athletics, whether you take baseball, whether you take gymnastics, whether you take swimming, it's a game, right? But it has multi-spectrum of how you can define based on the activities, whether it's outdoor, indoor. Similarly, when you kind of come into knowledge management, organizations could be different. Even organization, when we say we have knowledge management, I do not believe the organization as a whole has knowledge management established. It's not possible. From my experience, if a small team, let's say a small financial team, if it has to establish a knowledge management, it is good, it works only well there, but it doesn't mean that it is working well for the entire organization, because what works for one team may not work for other teams in the company itself. So here again, we are not talking about solutions. So we are really looking at a higher degree. What are we talking about? Simple. I mean, there are a few important points which are really put together. I want to probably show you one small diagram which will help us to understand the standards and the way, generally in the natural way of doing things. Okay. Now, in any organization, let's say you kick off a project. Forget about knowledge management. Let's say IT project, or whether you start a construction project, any project. So initially you initiate the whole project, then you plan the whole aspect of the project, then you design what is needed, the resources and the inner and outer, etc. Then you implement that project, right? And then you operationalize, and then there's a continuous improvement. There's a loop back, something is working. So now, if you look at this, so this is the natural way of doing things, right? So what standard is actually telling us is they've just put the elements which is actually in tandem with this natural flow of things. Okay, so what are this natural flow of the tenants? See, actually, how I maybe my terms when I say tenants is again some of the requirements, key requirements. So here, what are the important requirements? There's a leadership we are talking about. Do you need a leadership? Yes, you need leadership. Without leadership, how can knowledge management exist at the enterprise level? Do you need governance? If you have implemented knowledge management solution, you need solutions. If solution has to work and people have to share, you need culture. So how do you develop the culture? So the requirement is about developing the culture. And if you're really looking at having a system, you need to have a process which is enabled with the business architecture. Then you need to have technology around this. Then you need to have enablers. Just technology will not work alone. You need to have people speaking with each other and talking about what the context of what is they need and fulfillment of this. You need people. I mean, if you have to manage the whole knowledge systems and the process governance, then you need people. So they're saying there's a requirement of one people. I mean, people as a requirement, right? The roles and responsibility you need to define for the people in the knowledge management, right?
Okay.
So what they're doing is they're defining these elements. They're not defining the solution, what an organization needs to do. So that is the beauty of the standard. In fact, I was also great skeptic and also a critic of standard. But one day, I downloaded and see, in this the organization I work is a Petroleum Development Oman, is one of the pioneer in knowledge management in this Gulf area and Oman. And here, what we did was, we had established lessons learned program for a few years, and it's a flagship program. And in fact, we have saved huge dollars in terms of few millions. So when I downloaded these standards, then I looked at, okay, what are the requirements and what have we done so far? So when we were comparing, do we have a policy? Yes, we have a code of practice. Okay, do we have roles and responsibility defined for this program? Yes, we do have. Do we have the whole knowledge lifecycle development process defined? Yes, we have. Is this program integrated into business? Yes, we have done. Without that, if somebody does not share lessons, they will not be able to close the projects, right? So in that way, we have integrated to the business, right? So in that way, there are process defined around it, and there's a governance in terms of reporting to the management, and there's a level of reporting structure and everything. Is that in place? Yes, it is there. So what was missing for us was the archival and the policy of, see, one of the key important requirement is knowledge development cycle. In that, you have to acquire new knowledge, you have to apply current knowledge, and you have to retain knowledge, and you also need to handle outdated knowledge. So that is one area which was missing. Then what we did, we integrated that particular archiving aspect into the technology, and we
Okay.
made it is a process is defined. So this is how you can take the the best of standard and see how you can align your existing knowledge management program or systems as a whole. They're not telling how you have to design your lessons learned database, or they're not saying, they're not talking about knowledge systems, how you need to define. They're not talking about people profile. What they're talking about is much subtle. They're saying elements. Elements could be conversations. I mean, one of the best tool for knowledge management is always talking, conversation between two people, between a group, right? And one of the simplest economical way of sharing knowledge is paper and pencil. Write it and share it with people.
Okay. Wonderful. And where my Russian auditory can get your book?
It's currently available on Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, all Amazon platform. So today we are going to launch even in Amazon India as well, paperback. So
Okay.
both Kindle and paperback is available, but my personal recommendation is to go for paperback, because this book is more like a manual. If you look at the last pages, you have step by step each and everything. So
Okay.
see, whether you believe in standard or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just about knowledge management. Again, here we are. See, again, we cannot build knowledge management in vacuum. As I mentioned, since I worked with multiple industries, uh, wherever I have gone, I found some key fundamental needs, knowledge needs. So I've taken those needs as one of the elements to develop solution, whether it is knowledge assets. See, knowledge assets is a fundamental requirement, whether it is oil and gas, whether it is in a small startup, whether it is a customer KPOs or IT. You need to manage your content and data and knowledge assets, process assets, so that it's easily accessible.
Okay.
That also helps us to, put some control around knowledge erosion. Otherwise, today I get out of the company, I take my laptop along with me, the whole 4 or 5 years is gone. So how do you manage that? At least the explicit. See, of course, I mean, people can't go into my brain and take out all the things, right? It doesn't happen. But at least, partially whatever is possible in the explicit arena should be able to do. So that is one element which I'm really propagating. Then lessons learned, which is very important in the arena of projects or products or customers, where, see, in today organizations, as a project manager, there's a bell curve, right? I should be better, or other project should be better. Based on that, my promotions are all staked up, right? So would I be interested in sharing it, my good practices with him? So now, as an organization culture, if we really develop this lessons learned program and actually cater, that elevates the performance and effectiveness. So like that, there are competency management and few more things which I've specifically mentioned. So if somebody wants to just, blindly, they can just look at, okay, what is our business problem? Can we scope it? Okay, can we take one small area to implement our solution? Before implementing, can we engage our stakeholders, really understand what is their business problem? Can we convert that business problem into knowledge challenges? And then these challenges can be filled with our solutions. So once you define this, then it is about implementing solutions. Once you implement solution, you need to manage, support the user, and then and again, important is time. What I need today, after 1 year, I may need more or something different. So again, knowledge is not constant. Knowledge changes with the people. Knowledge changes with the circumstances. So we need to identify and input these elements as well.
Mhm. Okay,
So
and
I've
my
built this model, yeah. I mean, as simple as possible, I've tried to distill the whole 20 years in working and just put it in simple way of doing things. I mean, it's A, B, C, yeah.
I see.
No theory.
And my last question, how you can describe what is knowledge management for 5 years old child?
See, beautiful question. Actually, I think if we answer this, I think we will stop defining what is knowledge management. I think that is one of the biggest challenge I have. Why do we need to define knowledge management? Maybe our human minds are always happy to define things, but knowledge management maybe in a different context is very contextual and applicable to a specific time and purposes of that individual knowledge entity.
Hmm.
Now, what is knowledge entity? I think this is very important. Now, knowledge entity for an individual is based on role. A infant, 5 years, for him, knowledge management is to even comprehend the words the parents speak and put it together and reproduce those sound itself is a knowledge, right?
Hmm.
And over a period of time, if they can really put meaning and context for each of the sounds, then it's a language for them. They're able to reproduce over a period of time.
Hmm.
That's what knowledge management for a toddler is.
Okay.
Yeah. So what see, this is where is knowledge management is very relative. So, in fact, one of the theory, what I say, suggest is, see, what lessons for me as a 2 years old, 2 years experienced professional at that time, is different from what 20 years experienced guy I am. I mean, right? What I think is mundane, maybe that those things are the important, critical things for a 2 year experienced guy.
Hmm.
Knowledge management is again relative. That's why role specific knowledge management needs to be developed in organization. When I said role specific, if your customer care support, if you develop knowledge management for him, then there are 100 or 200 people who will work on that and they'll get benefited. If
Okay.
you are developing enterprise level, then entity will start using it. Again, here we are talking about multiple entities. Nature, how much knowledge do we have about oceans, knowledge about the
Mhm.
galaxy? That itself is a various way of doing it. So we have to look holistically. When we look holistically, we cannot define knowledge management in simple 1 or 2 lines. But
Mhm.
contextually, yes, we can define.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was Santhosh Shekar and his new book, Design Knowledge Management. Thank you, Santhosh. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you inviting me over. And in fact, I would be happy to talk about the ISO standard. If any of them are really interested and enthusiastic about knowledge management standard, I would be happy to share things about it and make them create awareness about the standard. And
Okay.
that will be my privilege too. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.